Yeah, my name's Rapczak. I'm co-founder and co-creator of Studio Wildcard, and we're the company behind ARK Survival Evolved. ARK is a first-person survival RPG multiplayer shooter. We also have a single-player component in early access. Single-player and multiplayer are the same game, but we've tried to inject, other than dinosaurs, which is our main draw, a lot of adventuring into the game, a lot of teaming up, growing your character. That's why we call it an RPG. You're able to take your character with you throughout your life cycle in the game. Even if you die, you don't lose your character's progress. You just drop everything that you've been carrying, can find your body again. So it's not like the most hardcore survival experience, and that was intentional because we wanted to bring in more players that hadn't maybe played a survival game before, really love dinosaurs, and want to play a really fun game. Yeah, so our VR support has been an early goal for ARK. We got it in there very quickly. Actually, it was ready at launch, our first version of it. Like with a lot of things with VR, there's extra work that we have to do to make sure that it works well. And what we've done so far is just try to get in a base implementation so people can start testing it out with Oculus and giving us some feedback on the way we've been implementing some things. We've got some players who have put 300 hours or more in ARK all in VR, you know, and to me it's mind-boggling because I'm like, wow, like some people don't even play the game that long at all, and you're like playing it in VR. But it's great because those players give us a lot of good feedback. You know, they've been in the game, they know which types of things are fatiguing, which types of things need to change. Our UI is a good example. You know, that's just kind of thrown in there right now, and it's a big area of focus for us for VR is to improve the UI both for VR and for the normal game. And so as we go throughout early access, we'll get more and more fine-grained with our VR support. As we get into optimization for our console releases, that's going to benefit our VR support as well, so we can bump up the quality in VR with the minimum specs for Oculus and things like that. So in terms of PC for headsets for VR, we don't have any discriminations. We want to make anything work, right? There's things we love about Oculus already. That was the first thing we did. We also love some things about Vive, especially the input model and the display and stuff like that. Very solid hardware. You know, for Sony, we've got Morpheus. We're working on that with them. Our release date for that is up to whatever the Morpheus timetable is. We're not sure of quite yet, but we are tracking to do that on PS4. And then if anything comes up with Xbox around VR, since we've already got VR support for everything else, we would want to try to implement it on Xbox as well to take advantage of that user base as well and give them something that's great for VR also. So, oh yeah, I did the demos for Vive at Valve and I was very impressed. Having worked on HoloLens for 2.5 years, I know how difficult and how important input is, not just in VR but in mixed reality as well. And of course the magic of HoloLens is there's no peripheral and you're using your hands and it's determining what you're doing, and you know that's its own challenge. But when I did the Vive, I was so amazed by the wands and how accurately they tracked and how natural that felt. You know, putting my hands in the game on my character in some cases, naturally grabbing things and moving things around. Almost everything I did on Vive required no tutorial, which for me was amazing because we would always be focusing on that at Microsoft on HoloLens and how to give people the right instructions to do a demo, and it was always a lot of manpower behind that. And to have an input method that's very successful like the Vive has, where people can intuitively just grab and use, is a big challenge of VR, and I'm glad that they seem to be on a path to solve it. And we'd be really excited to do things in ARK, like, you know, using that method to do the bow, or like to, you know, throw a spear, stab, melee, things like that seem like they could be really fun as an option for that input method. I think there is area for crossover in HoloLens for gaming. Microsoft, it seems like they're not focusing as much on that for the initial release of HoloLens for a variety of reasons. One of the reasons being that it's so great as an actual tool for corporations, and you know, NASA's really using it for the rover. You know, we got a lot of people when I was at Microsoft asking for different sort of business-to-business applications, things for customers. So there's such a huge market there and opportunity for mixed reality in that field, and that seems to be the strength of the initial release of HoloLens. I think once the prices come down for components and they're able to expand the field of view and do a lot of that stuff, I think we might see a lot more gaming applications in addition to the initial things they've put in there, which are standalone type game experiences and things like that. But one of the main things about HoloLens that separates it from everything else is it's a self-contained computer, and so you can go anywhere with it. It's untethered. It's like having a device on you all the time. You don't have to plug it into anything, and so I think there is going to be a lot more gaming applications for that, maybe in conjunction with PCs or consoles, second screens type stuff. It maybe makes sense when you're wearing a headset headset, you know, it's always, second screen stuff is always weird on a tablet where it's like you have to hold it and take your hands off the game, but you know, with MR you could have stuff floating all around your monitor and like quickly check stuff and then still be playing your game. So this could be a lot of fun stuff happening there. So going forward for ARK, our roadmap around console releases and early access is to finish up our PC early access probably by the end of the year, and that gives us enough time to then shift over to our Xbox game preview, which is their version of early access on consoles. So we're going to start that around January, and we're going to spend several months in early access iterating with the player base, figuring out the right game modes for the console, how players might jump in and out with the console party systems and stuff like that. Make sure we're shipping a really good console game and we're not just shipping a PC game on console. And then once we lock that down after a few months, we're going to go into our alpha and our beta stages, and still planning to ship around June of 2016.